check this little guy out. I wasn't even sure if it was a corn or a rat at first because he's got so much weird orangish undertones to his browns and grays. Beautiful little gray rat. I mean, looking at that, that's what I saw at first. I thought it was a weird anery corn. But no, just a very, very pretty little gray rat snake. Good morning, everybody, from a small clearing in the forest here in Alabama today. We're getting ready to do some hiking on what will probably be the only decent day of the week this week for snakes. We've got another cold front coming in tonight. It's supposed to bring some pretty cold temperatures, at least for a few days. So this is going to be the last day I get to get out for a while, so I'm going to try to take full advantage of it. Well, the birds are sure making it feel and sound like spring out here. Well, the snakes are definitely playing hard to get today. I've seen a ribbon snake and what I think was a cottonmouth, but despite the temperatures being cool and the sky being cloudy, they both disappeared pretty quickly, so hopefully that trend doesn't continue. It's always frustrating when everything's getting away like this. This thing's usually good for something. I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna flip it. Lots of narrowmouths, as always. All right, here's our first narrowmouth congregation of the day. It's not as jam-packed as I was really expecting it to be, but there's a decent amount. Look at that little guy. Oh, there we go. All right, well, this nice tire produced our first green snake of the day. This is a spot that I usually see a couple of these this time of year, so it'd be cool to flip a few. You can see there are a couple of narrowmouths under here with him, but they're in no danger because these guys eat almost exclusively invertebrates, like caterpillars and stuff. All right, let's get a look at this guy. Hey, buddy. It's always cool to see these guys when everything else is brown because they just stand out so much more. That's like Florida rough green snake, level of yellow almost. I used to wonder if these guys were brumating under this stuff out here because of how many I would find this time of year. But this year I came out here on some colder days hoping to see them, and they were not up. So they're definitely coming up and down from some manner of burrow under here. Probably these various ant tunnels and stuff in the root systems. You can see there's just a ton of tiny holes down there that a skinny snake like this could get down very easily. Snakes are very good at fitting into tight spaces. All right, we'll let this beautiful dude go back under his tire. That yellow is nuts. Definitely one of the more vibrant greens that I can recall finding in this area. Honestly, I'm not sure what to call these little dudes. That one looks more like a squirrel to me, and that one looks more like a pine woods. I mean, is it just a weird coincidence that these two are... Oh, well, that one left, but I really don't know what these are. They're definitely either squirrel or pine woods tree frogs, though. All right, we're officially at the point where I'm sweating, and the snake to sweat ratio is just not where it should be. I think we've just seen 3 snakes, and only one of which I've been able to show you guys so far. It's just now getting to be around 11 a.m., so definitely a lot more warming up coming, and hopefully more snakes. We'll see. It's not a good look at him, but I was walking through this tall grass and noticed there's an alligator right there. Look at that. Very cool. Well, that's pretty cool. It's not every day we get to see one up close like this. Doesn't look like the healthiest alligator, but he certainly isn't on death's door or anything. Maybe a little bit thin. If you guys ever wondered what kind of places alligators spend the winter, that kind of place right there. I mean, there has been a lot of activity in and out of this hole. Probably from a big alligator that is uncomfortably close to me right now, and I just don't see him. All right, guys, I think I'm going to focus on the more upland component of this area for the rest of the day. The swamp stuff is not working very well. And I'm assuming that's just because today's a bum day for whatever reason, but sometimes switching up the strategy can work. So we're going to give it a shot. The main thing I would like to see in this habitat is either a timber rattlesnake or a copperhead. I just cannot find either of those animals at the spot, despite this being perfect habitat for both. And I'm sure they're both at least nearby, but I have a suspicion that timber rattlesnakes have been extirpated, at least locally. Buddy, your eye's a little droopy there. What's going on with that, dude? Beautiful green tree frog, though. I just gently peeked behind this little piece of tree bark, and he was sitting right there. Very cool. Lots of yellow spots on him, too. All right, buddy, here's your little crack. Go on. Go on. There you go. Oh, this bark has something a lot less pleasant under it. Look at all these wasps. That's a kind of concerning sign. I just flipped in a knoll under a log. It's just very weird today because like the amphibians are acting like it's spring, but the reptiles are acting like it's not spring at all. They're acting like it's not even warm out here, and it's like 70 degrees right now. It's supposed to get up to 75. Check this little guy out. I wasn't even sure if it was a corn or a rat at first because he's got so much weird orangish undertones to his browns and grays. Beautiful little gray rat. I mean, looking at that, that's what I saw at first. I thought it was a weird anery corn. But no, just a very, very pretty little gray rat snake. All right, well, we'll let this little beauty go. I took a few pics. Definitely think that's the prettiest gray rat we've seen this year. One of the prettiest we've ever found. Definitely one of the prettiest babies. Normally the babies all kind of look the same, but this one's definitely got a cool look to him. Well, I guess the rat snakes out here are just super variable because I just found another one. And it doesn't really look like the one we just found. Granted, it is a bigger snake, but it also doesn't look like any of the ones I've seen here before. This almost looks like something you would expect from kind of the yellow rat snake intergrade zone. He's not super yellow, but he does have a weird kind of off tint to him, just like the other one did, but in a different way. Very cool looking snake though. Nice to finally be getting at least a few snakes, especially ones we can look at. How's it going, dude? And come see me? Yes, I'm friend. Crawls underhand. Seems like stuff's finally coming out, so maybe we'll have a good afternoon. I'll get a quick pic of this guy and we'll let him go. He's gonna climb up my pants. The more I look at this guy, the less weird he is, but he's definitely a little darker than I would expect here. So we went from one that was lighter and a little more colorful than I'd expect to one that's darker. But that's just rat snakes. They're really variable when you're in an area that doesn't just have black rats. There's a lot of variation. An erythragaster. Look at that. It appeared this guy had just come out too because he was not ready to flee at all. In fact, he's a little cool to the touch, like he just came out from underground. The only thing is, I don't know where he could have came from because it's all water right here. This area is completely flooded at the moment and probably usually is this time of year. Nice looking Nerodia though. A little bit on the thin side, but no crust really. Maybe a couple of spots on his belly. Otherwise, pretty healthy coming out of winter. All right, so I'm currently making my way back towards the snakiest area of this spot. And we've been seeing a lot more snakes in the last hour or so. And I'm hoping that we'll get over there and it'll be on fire. I think our biggest problem today is that, and you're not going to hear me say this often, it's too cloudy. I mean, I've multiple times tried to locate the sun for photography purposes, and I haven't been able to find it. I don't know where it is. But it's also possible that the cold front coming in behind this storm, the snakes are aware that that's coming and they're not super active because of that. Hey, look at that. Just found this little guy basking. He was coiled up in a perfect little circle, but I noticed him right as he started to move, so I wasn't able to get it in situ, but very nice. First one of these we've gotten a good look at today. I lost one first thing this morning. I'm just now getting back into the really saucy habitat, so hopefully there will be a few more snakes between here and the car. I don't know if you guys can hear it yet, but the wind is really picking up already. I think we're going to be wrapping up soon, even though it's only like 2. That's a beefy ribbon snake. Right past the first one. This one's probably a big female. Very cool. Man, that thing's cool looking. Much bigger than the first one, but I am just going to leave this one in situ since it's chilling. And here's another big ribbon snake down in the briars. Look at that one. This one's all covered in mud. Oh, there he goes, or she. Good morning, everyone. Got a little quiet when I said that, but that's okay. It is a pretty unideal late winter, early spring day. It actually feels great right now. But for the past week or so, we've been back to full-blown winter, which has really sucked. I've been out like 5 or 6 times and gotten completely skunked. So what we're going to do today is try to wrap up this episode and some of our local stuff that we haven't hit in a few weeks. First thing I'm going to do is check up on our spotteds and see if there are a bunch more eggs than the last time we visited. And then I'm going to hike around and hope that a snake or two is out enjoying the weather today. Like I said, it's not great. It's in the mid-60s and it's a little bit breezy and it froze last night. So it could be worse, but it could also be a lot better. So it definitely seems at a glance like this year's spotted breeding activity has been really spread out. If you'll recall, when we had all that snow, the spotteds bred a little bit, and these are probably older egg masses that were here around that time. But if we come over here a little, that is a very fresh egg mass. The eggs inside of it don't look developed whatsoever, probably only a few days old. I wish I could get to those without soaking myself, but you can see the one closer to us is much further developed than the one behind it. And here we have again a bunch of newer egg masses right next to egg masses that are no longer even egg masses. Those are just the gelatinous blob that protects the eggs. Those eggs have hatched and the larvae are already in the water. This batch is in a really good spot for photos and video. Look at that. And potentially even cooler, look at all of those tadpoles. Those are either toad or southern leopard frog. So I think this is actually 3 separate egg masses from probably 3 different females, likely the same male. What they'll do is they'll lay their spermatophores in a cluster like that, and then a female will come along, or multiple females in this instance. You can see there's some bigger tadpoles in here too. These are probably chorus frog, and they're probably a few weeks old. This pool is actually a pretty terrible place to lay eggs because there's not really much vegetation to anchor the eggs to, so they're just kind of floating around in the middle of the pond. And this one, you can see a lot of the eggs have actually been eaten. Something has gotten into this and started eating the eggs. In this particular pool, I've seen caddisflies do that frequently. And earlier, yeah, right here, there's actually a couple of eggs just free floating. Look at that. So something has ripped into the protective gel that surrounds this egg mass and started eating the eggs. But whatever it is not here now. Maybe if we came back at night, we could see. So many eggs in here. It seems like we missed one of the better spotted salamander breeding years in recent history, just like based sheerly on the quantity of egg masses out here. This might be the most I've ever seen in these pools. And we're still not even to the best pond, or what's usually the best pond. It's really cool to just see how many different stages of development these eggs are in. You can see the photosynthetic algae starting to develop in that back set of eggs. Any of these with a more greenish tint are heavily inundated with this really cool symbiotic algae that grows exclusively in the egg masses of Ambystoma maculatum, the spotted salamander. There's a good bit of southern leopard frog egg masses in this particular pond. Then if we look carefully right here, that is a chorus frog egg. Small cluster. Now this is what I've been looking for. This is a much further developed egg mass of spotted salamanders that were probably laid around the time we saw those in the ice storm. I don't see any babies that are actually swimming around outside of the egg mass yet, but some of them have definitely hatched. You can see those little guys in there are starting to actually look like salamanders. They've got gills. You can actually kind of see the gills decently well, but it's really cool to watch them go from like an amorphous blob to an actual baby salamander in these eggs over the course of a couple of weeks. So this is actually really cool to see. We've come full circle. This is the little corner of the vernal pool that was frozen and had eggs under the ice back when we had some of our coldest weather I can ever remember in Georgia. There was a little bit of doubt in my mind that those eggs would survive, but that's one of them. And right here is one of the other ones. And you can see there's plenty of little salamanders in there getting ready to bust out. That is so cool. And then right next door, we have a much fresher couple of clutches of eggs that these guys will probably eat once they hatch, because they're going to be almost a month ahead of these guys. These egg masses are even further along. Look at those little dudes in there. They're actually little salamanders. It's so cool. This is the first time I've ever seen these white eggs here. I've seen photos of it before. I don't know what causes it. Very, very weird though. I'm not sure if they're good or not. All right, guys, we're gonna move on and spend the rest of the day in some stuff that's marginally snakier. And at the very least, we'll have different salamanders if we can't find any snakes. So very cool to see all the spotted salamanders doing very well despite the super long winter we've had this year. It seems like they have largely carried on as if things are normal. I love the habitat here. It's very cool, but it feels a lot like looking for a needle in a haystack this time of year, because there's just so many places that look like they would be perfect for a snake to overwinter, like that crack and all these other cracks. There's a little prolapsus, Chattooga dusky salamander. Actually not a super abundant species here. I've always thought duskies should be more abundant in this creek than they really are. And this seems to be the only species. I don't think there's anything here but prolapsus. So I went to flip this log and a little piece of it broke off, and look at what is inside. I am in disbelief. That is the first adult spring salamander I have ever found here. But he's huge. Look at that. It's massive. Oh my God. This is the most excited I've been about a salamander in a while. I have only ever seen larvae and lost adults here. This is the first time I've ever gotten a look at an adult. Second time ever in my home county. First time at this spot. So I've only seen a handful of desmogs in this creek prior to this guy. I mean, this is the spot that I hit the most. if that helps make this a little bit more reasonable why I'm so excited. I mean, of all the places I go, this is the place I go the most. And it sucks. It's a beautiful place, but it sucks. It's hard to find anything here, much less the cool stuff. I feel like I have to work twice as hard here to find even the most common snakes as I do basically anywhere else in the state. But when it pays off, it pays off. Huge adult spring salamander. My first adult that I've caught in this creek, and only my second ever in my home county. The first of which was the first ever recorded here. So just as their name suggests, these guys prefer clean spring water, and this creek flows out of the hillside like maybe a half a mile up the stream. But I think part of the reason they're so difficult to find in here is because there's just no rocks. I mean, literally no flippable rocks. Maybe 5 or 6 good rocks in the whole creek, which for an entire creek is not a lot, because a lot of the best spring salamander creeks are basically solid rock. You can see he's got like a broken back foot there that's healed weird, I think. It doesn't move completely normally, but a very cool salamander, and something I've been wanting to see in this particular creek for like well over 10 years. That's not even an exaggeration. I've been coming out here since I was probably 15. So needless to say, I'm a very happy dude. Very cool salamander, as always. We do see them pretty frequently, just not in this particular spot. But even where they're common, they always make my day. So I'll put this guy back in his log and we'll continue on. Well, that's a beauty. A little southern redback under a rock. Definitely prettier than average. All right, guys, I'm most of the way back to the car through the upland habitat. It doesn't really seem like a snake's going to happen today, but that's okay. I'm pretty happy with how it went. That spring salamander alone pretty much makes my week. Just because I've had to work so hard for that thing, and it doesn't really make much sense, but the habitat's not the best. I never really put my mind to it either. I never tried coming out here at night in the rain. Just goes to show how secretive some of these things we look for can be, and just because they aren't necessarily common where you live doesn't mean they're not there. But yeah, I'm probably going to call it here. If I see anything else, great, but if not, I'll probably wrap this one up. Next week is March, which is awesome. I mean, March is basically one of the best months of the year for me. So that's what you guys have to look forward to. I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.